Chet Holmgren is an unreal talent. After being out for an entire season, so far in his official rookie season, Chet has been playing at another level. In this small sample size that we've seen him, he's had some incredible statistical nights, he had some games where he put up incredibly clutch shots, and overall there's just been a ton to like about Chet's game. But quickly, before we get the video started, for those of you who may not know, I'm JuicySports, I make opinionated NBA content, and if you guys enjoy videos similar to this, hit that subscribe button, that like button, and that post notification bell. I also want to quickly mention that I recently started up an MMA channel, and if you guys are interested in that, the link will be in the description. But anyways, let's get into it. Chet Holmgren was drafted with the number 2 overall selection during the 2022 NBA draft by the OKC Thunder. And originally when Chet was coming into the NBA, it was pretty clear that he was a special type of talent. He was a guy that had great size, but also had a lot of skill on top of that. And something that I mention in a lot of my videos is that the new age NBA is headed in that direction. Teams are more and more looking for players in the draft that have great size, the size of a big man, but have the skills and capabilities of a point guard. And when you look at Chet, it's pretty clear that he fits into that criteria. Because if guys of that size are extremely skilled, it just gives them so many more abilities than other guys with similar type of skill levels would be able to do at a shorter size, obviously. Because when you look at some players around the NBA, you talk about Kevin Durant, you talk about Victor Wembanyama as of a little bit more recently, and some other guys as well, but when you're able to be that skilled at that size, it just makes the game that much easier for you. For example, when you talk about a guy in Kevin Durant, he literally has the capability to grab a rebound on one end of the court and pull up for a deep three-point shot on the other end. And when he's pulling up for those deep three-point jump shots or just jump shots in general, he has great length and he's so tall out there that virtually nobody's going to be able to block him. And when you're going on the offensive side of the court and you know that basically every opposing player is not going to be able to block your shot and they're most likely not even going to be able to get a good contest on you, it just makes your life so much easier. And when you look at a guy in Victor Wembanyama, it's pretty clear that he also has a similar advantage to KD. Now, obviously, Victor isn't nearly as good and as talented offensively as KD is, at least at this point, but regardless of that fact, he also has the capability to grab a rebound on one side of the court and go to the other side and shoot a deep three-point jump shot as well. And him, even more so than KD, has a lot more size, so it's even easier for him to put up shots without really being contested all that much. And of course, when you talk about Chet, he's in a very similar position to those other two guys that I mentioned. But although there was a ton of hype and excitement around Chet's name going into the draft, there definitely was a concern. And that concern was injuries. But really, whenever you look at guys of a similar stature to Chet, but also have as much skill as he does, the main concern is always going to come down to injuries. Because when you talk about guys that are that tall and that thin, injuries are kind of just natural at that point, and it's very difficult to stay healthy. And when you look at Chet individually, unfortunately, he did end up missing his entire rookie season. Now, at this point in his technical rookie season, he's been looking a lot healthier. He's been looking very healthy, and I think the Thunder brass and Chet himself will tell you that he fully healed from his injuries. But regardless of that fact, that concern is always going to be in the back of everybody's mind. But regardless of those concerns and regardless of what happened last year, so far early on into this season, Chet has been playing at an extremely high level. When you just look at some of the numbers he was able to put up this season, he's averaging 17 points per game on 7.8 boards and 2.6 assists. And although those numbers are extremely impressive, at the same time, I think Chet has been playing at an even higher level than those numbers would suggest. But a question that some of you may be wondering at this point is, why has Chet been able to be so successful in his young rookie season so far? Well, in my opinion, it comes down to a couple different factors, but the first factor has to be his overall skill. As I talked about before, when you look at Chet Holmgren, it's pretty clear that this guy's a true 3-level scorer. He does a phenomenal job from that 3-point range, whether you talk about the catch and shoot 3-point jump shot, creating for himself from that 3-point range, whether you talk about the crossover, sidestep, or step back, it's pretty clear that Chet has all of those abilities from that range while also shooting at a relatively good percentage from that area. But moving on to his mid-range shooting ability, this is also an ability that he has, whether you talk about the catch and shoot mid-range jump shot, post turnaround fadeaway, which is even that much more effective due to his size. But he of course also has a nice ability to hit that step back mid-range jumper, cross over into a mid-range jumper, even put up floaters in the lane if he needs to. Now driving all the way to the basket, Chet has a really nice ability to finish around contact with left or right hand finishes, also has the ability to finish through contact at times to get N1 finishes, and overall when you look at Chet's game from top to bottom, in terms of his overall scoring ability at least, it's pretty clear that this guy is a very complete player. But the great thing about Chet is he's not only a scorer out there, he also has a pretty nice ability to rebound, as he is averaging almost 8 boards per game, but of course even besides that, he has a decent ability and a decent understanding of the NBA game, and has an okay ability to facilitate out there. Now obviously when you're talking about a player of the size and position that Chet plays, you're not going to expect all that much in terms of the playmaking. But I think when you look at Chet, he has proven so far during his small NBA sample size that he actually has a pretty nice ability to find guys when they're open. Whether that means cutting backdoor for wide open dunks or layups, or whether that means catch and shoot for wide open 3-point jump shots, when there's guys that are open out there, Chet more often than not has a nice ability to find them for open looks. And something that I actually mention in a lot of my videos is I think the more guys you have like that on your roster, the better and more dangerous it makes your overall roster. Because if you have guys that are really talented offensively in terms of their individual scoring ability, but also at the same time they have a nice ability to facilitate, then it just makes the defense think that much more. Because if they send double or triple teams to that guy, the defenses then need to worry about and have some concerns about that player being able to find the open guys out there. And I think when you talk about Chet Holmgren, he's proven in his short NBA sample size that he definitely has a solid ability to facilitate when guys are open. But I think another reason for why Chet has been able to be so successful so far is due to the players that he has around him on the Thunder. Because although the Thunder roster is still extremely young and there's a lot of development to be had, at the same time I think they actually have a lot of talent on the roster. Whether you talk about SGA, who's an extremely talented player in my opinion, Josh Giddey is also very good, you talk about Jalen Williams and some others, the Thunder are at this point littered with talent. And when you specifically talk about SGA and Josh Giddey, both of those guys do a really nice job at facilitating for others, and when you talk about Chet individually, it just makes his life that much easier, whether running the pick and roll or pick and pop, or just spotting up in the corner for wide open 3-point looks in general. When you have SGA and Giddey on your team, you're going to get open looks out there. So I definitely think the players that Chet has on his roster is a huge reason for why he's been able to be so successful so far. So overall at this point, I'm a huge fan of Chet's game. I really like what he's able to do offensively. I really like the potential that he does have. I do also like the roster that he plays for. All the guys around him are a similar age and they're all probably going to improve together. And I just think in the long-term future, Chet individually and the OKC Thunder as a whole have an extremely bright future ahead of themselves. And to be honest, I don't see any reason for why the Thunder or Chet wouldn't be able to make significant improvements to their game as time does progress. But I guess only time will tell what does end up happening for Chet Holmgren and the entire OKC Thunder roster. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Chet has an extremely bright future ahead of himself, or do you not think so? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, check one of these two videos popping up now. And until the next time, peace out guys.